Welcome to the KernoCast podcast. This week it's just me. It's because I had a podcast that was scheduled for this week postponed, which is fine. So I've decided to do something a little bit different. And this is something I've been wanting to do something like this for a while, and this and I've not really had the opportunity until now. And I've in the week I was looking up some stuff about what I could, some of the housing developments that are going to be going on in Bodmin in the future. And what I've wanted to do is have a bird's eye view, create some piece of content that is looking at Bodmin from a bird's eye view. And this Bodmin Town Framework popped up while I was looking through what is a dreadful Cornwall Council website. I wouldn't say dreadful, that's unfair, but a very difficult to navigate website. And so I found this Bodmin Town Framework, and it's something that I'm quite pleased I found, actually, because I've been wanting for a long time, and I've been saying for a long time that Bodmin needs some sort of direction. It needs some sort of identity and something to aim towards and something for it to become, if you understand where I'm coming from. And a lot of it has been around maybe becoming like this cycle town and an industry town, a business hub, so things like, along those lines. And it's not really sure about what it is and what it wants to become. So this Bodmin Town Framework popped up, and I'm going to kind of look through it. And it's quite a big document, and there's many different sectors to it. So what is probably going to happen is I'll probably upload different sections to it. So I'll go through maybe the introduction now in this episode, and then maybe add in your next day might be the next section. So I'm going to try my best here. I've looked into it a little bit, so I've got a rough idea of what I'm kind of talking about. I'm no expert on any of this, and I'm just a curious Bodmin Town resident, even though I don't actually live here at the moment, but I grew up in Bodmin. I spent over 25 years of my life living in Bodmin, so it's close to my heart. And this is something I've been wanting to do for a while. So this document looks at Bodmin moving forward, relating to housing, economics, and culture. And I'm also going to throw in some opinions of my own. We'll see how it pans out. So this Bodmin Town Framework, which was made in conjunction with a Cornwall plan, and I'm guessing that there's one for each town. So if you're not actually a Bodmin resident and you listen to this, then there's probably one for you. And maybe I'll look into exploring one of those as well in the future. Let's have a little start. Let's have a little look through this. So this is the main page, and obviously we start with the contents, and it's got an introduction. It's got a vision, strategic aims, objectives and targets, spatial strategy, and infrastructure. So I think what we'll do is look at the introduction first. In part 1, we'll look at vision, strategic aims, objectives, and targets in episode 2 of this little series, and obviously then work on the spatial strategy and infrastructure in the next parts. So let's make a start with the introduction. So this starts out by explaining what this Bodmin Town Framework is, and if you're watching, then you can see the actual document in front of you. And if you're listening, then I won't read through the entirety of the document because we'll be here for hours. But what I will do is try to summarise what I can. This Bodmin Town Framework, which is basically a business plan, and it was published in March of 2017. And the Bodmin Town Framework is a document that sets out the vision for the future sustainable growth and regeneration of the urban area and immediate hinterland of the town. The Bodmin Town Framework is one of a series of frameworks that have been produced by Cornwall Council. These documents will then form a key evidence base for the Cornwall Allocation Development Plan document, which will sit alongside the local plan. And the local plan is like the main Cornwall plan, if you like. And this document was, like I said before, has been developed in tandem with the local plan, and hopefully that they're saying that this should result in a good blend of strategic and local issues. The Bodmin Town Framework articulates the overarching strategy for the town, incorporating issues relating to economic growth, transportation, green infrastructure, etc. The intention is for the town framework to be an holistic strategy which brings together all of the main aspirations, particularly spatial aspirations for Cornwall Council and the local community. And if you're listening, then there's a little map that outlines sort of the Bodmin area. So it then moves on to a bit of a background to the area. And it starts out by saying that Bodmin sits at the heart of Cornwall, and it's located well between, with links to the A30 and A38, and that it's close to Truro and Newquay Airport, as well as Plymouth and Exeter. The next part goes on to say that Bodmin has a history as a religious centre dating back to the 6th century, and in the late 18th and 19th centuries, Bodmin experienced a substantial increase in population, and its importance as an administrative centre grew with the establishment of the county courts, asylum, jail and garrison, plus it attained county town status in place of Launceston. This means because it was a county town, it means that it can boast a number of fine Georgian and Victorian buildings, which have apparently had a facelift through a Townscape Heritage Initiative. It's saying that Bodmin has a population of just under 15,000. That Bodmin is one of the larger employment centres, and the town's unemployment rate is regularly below the UK average. One of the main economic challenges for Bodmin is to complement the current economic base with higher quality job opportunities, which I would agree with. There's a lot of low-paying jobs in Bodmin generally, with a lot of supermarkets and a lot of sort of factories and in the area. And the current wage levels for Bodmin is around £418. I'm guessing that's a week, which is only 81% of the national average at £518. These economic challenges, together with the national trend for rising house prices, have also resulted in a significant requirement for affordable housing. And there's apparently in February 2017, there were 811 families on the Cornwall Council's Home Choice Register, which I'm assuming is the new way of saying council homes or what have you. Which is an interesting point, because if you think about, there's been a lot of talk about housing recently, and part of that is people are saying that we're building so many houses for more people to move in, but that's not actually necessarily the case. I mean, if there's 811 families, if you consider that there's, say, 2 to 3 people in each house, I mean, you're looking at around 2,000 people that kind of need a home, and these are people that are probably still living with parents, probably young people that are still living with parents that all need a house, and they want a house, they just can't afford to get one, or they can't afford the rent, or what have you, which is, actually, I'm probably in that bracket. I'm just not on the Home Choice Register, and there's probably even more people like that. So you could probably look at it's probably more like 3,000 people that need a home. So if you consider the amount of houses that are being built, probably the majority of them will be occupied by local people. Apparently, it is estimated that with the targeted growth in housing, Bodmin's population would grow to approximately 21,000 by 2030, which would be an increase of 40%. And the most significant increases are anticipated in the over 65 age group, which I can understand because we're all living longer, aren't we? So apparently as well, people living longer and social trends has resulted in a continued reduction in average household size. And that means that there's a lot more people living alone, and in 2001, the average household in Bodmin contained 2.3 people, and by 2030, this is going to be 2.2 people. And this means that in the region of 300 homes will be needed in Bodmin just to maintain the population at its current level. Then moves on to say there are a number of key socio-economic issues which affect the performance of Bodmin and which need to be addressed in order to deliver sustainable growth. High quality employment premises are in short supply. And skills, there's evidence that a lack of appropriate skills, including employability and relevant vocational skills, is preventing the local workforce from accessing new job opportunities. It then says transport. The centre of the town often suffers from congestion and, as a result, poor air quality, which I hope that the recent roadworks and road changes that have happened through Denison Road, and that's probably what they're mostly talking about, has hopefully made an impact on that and made a difference. And it then goes, despite all these challenges, Bodmin's central location and connectivity means it still represents a key opportunity for the future economic growth of Cornwall. And I would agree with that. Bodmin is situated in such a brilliant area. It's just, like I said at the beginning, it's just knowing where it sits and what it wants to kind of become and achieve. It then goes on to understanding Bodmin. In preparing a strategy for an area's future, it is important to develop this in the knowledge of how it currently operates. Bodmin is made up of various neighbourhoods, and it is important to support them where possible. With regard to movement, the A30 and A38 represent the strategic highway connections which are located on the eastern edge of the town, with the A389 acting as the main east-west link-through road. The main line rail network runs to the south of the town, with Bodmin Parkway Station being located 5 kilometres from the town centre. We need to make that easier, by the way. They do talk about transport links later on, which we'll probably cover in another part of this little series. But making it more accessible to get to Bodmin Parkway, I think, is an essential thing that we need to look to do. It says that Bodmin's main industrial estates are to the east of the town, linking straight into that highway network. And whilst there is significant existing employment opportunity to the west of the town at the Beacon Technology Park, which is going to be, I think, according to this plan later on, you will see that that is going to be quite a major advancement for Bodmin, or they're planning for it to be. Apparently, Bodmin's primary schools are well located along a spine going east to west through the town, which offers good accessibility for residents. And the secondary school sits to the east of the town. And 2 of the 3 health facilities are located close to the town centre, whilst the third, St Lawrence's Hospital, sits to the west. Finally, the town centre still sits at the heart of the conurbation. Why do they have to use long words? Just put the town. Again, providing good access for most local residents, whilst there are 4 food stores, and which 2 are close to the edge of the town centre. I definitely think there was more than 4. It says that there are a number of important green assets surrounding the existing built environment. The Beacon, which is obviously a nature reserve, and which it says it sits at the centre of the town. It kind of doesn't. It's a bit. There's not much round the other side of it. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like at the top, isn't it? But okay. So shaping past and future directions of development. Yes, you can't really it's difficult to build. You can't go building on it, can you? There's also Castle Cannock, an ancient settlement area and secluded ancient monument, which is a defining landscape feature located on one of the highest points surrounding Bodmin. That there, if you didn't know, is up near the rugby club roundabouts. It kind of and sort of near the Cormac offices, up at the top of Walker Lines there, sort of in between the Roach Foods pull off from the main road there, from the roundabout, and the Walker Lines industrial estate. It sits up there. It's a big sort of circle thing. It's really ancient, and obviously we shouldn't be touching that because of its significance to Bodmin. It goes on to mention Cardinham Woods and Lanhydrock, which are obviously both to the east, and Dunmere Woods to the northwest. The town sits on the Camel Trail, which is great for cycling and pedestrian routes. And it's saying here that this asset could be exploited further, which they do look into a bit later on as well. So here's a map, but this isn't a very nice map.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of part 1 of this Kernocast special on Bodmin Town's framework. I hope you found it interesting. I thought it was quite interesting. It's nice to just kind of get that overview of Bodmin, sort of currently and a little bit in the past, and sort of a little bit of the council's ideas of where they want to take Bodmin going forward to 2030. If there's anything that's come up in this that you'd like to sort of discuss or to chat a bit about further, then chuck it in any of the comments that you comment boards that are around, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, or if you want to talk to me directly, you can always email me, which is kernocast@gmail.com, just for a bit of reference. So the next part is going to be part 2, which is on Cornwall's vision, strategic aims and objectives, I think. So I'll be releasing that sort of in the next day or so, and we can keep up with this Bodmin Town Framework, and hopefully, I think once we get further into this, a lot more interesting detailed topics will come up, because they talk about things in a lot more detail surrounding a specific thing. So hopefully this is a bit of a start, and just let me know what you thought of it. It's probably not my best piece of work. It's quite difficult to read through something and comment on it as you're sort of going and making it flow nicely. But if you like the concept of what I'm doing, then please let me know, because I think it could be quite interesting, especially if I could, the more practice I get at it, the better I'll get. So tell me if you think it's a good idea for me to look through council documents that they post on their website and bring things to light. Hopefully I can do that, and it's a bit more, you can actually, because the council aren't very likely to come and speak to me, so at least I can kind of go through what they say in their documents and show everyone else what they do. And hopefully I'm not going to be, I'm quite happy to throw out opinions, but hopefully I'm not going to be, I don't want to defame what the council are doing, for example. Try not to make them sound stupid or anything like that. I hope that's not what I've done here, but I'm hoping that it just kind of makes a bit of a better link between the council and the public. So I'm hoping that's what comes across. And check out the next one. Keep an eye out, subscribe, like, and everything that you might need to do on any of the places where you follow me and the Kernocast. And just keep up to date with the next couple of things, and let me know. Thanks so much for listening and watching, if that was the case, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.